You know that feeling, right? When you're deep in your work and you start to wonder, am I actually making a difference here? Well, today we're going to dive into that exact feeling, but through the incredible journey of one teacher. It's a story all about finding your purpose again. And trust me, its lessons go way, way beyond the classroom. So, where does this whole journey kick off? It starts with this one powerful idea. It's the moment this teacher realized the classroom wasn't just a stage for a lecture. Nope, it was a place for everyone to learn together, including the teacher. This single thought, that the educator is also the student, is what started everything. And that reflection, it all begins with a question I think anyone who's ever tried to lead or mentor has asked themselves. You're standing up there, you're sharing what you know, but there's this little voice in the back of your head going, is any of this actually sinking in? Am I really connecting with them? And that feeling, that weight of doubt, that's where our story really gets going. But here's the most important part. That doubt isn't a sign you're failing. It's actually the starting line for a massive, profound change. Think about the daily reality here. It's this constant balancing act, right? On one side, you want to be empathetic. You want to connect with every single student. But on the other, you've got to keep things structured. You need discipline. It can feel like you're walking a tightrope, being pulled in two totally different directions. And this is the pivot. This is the big mindset shift. Instead of looking at all those daily struggles and feeling like a failure, they became a mirror. They started showing areas where growth could happen. So the challenge wasn't a roadblock at all. It was the actual fuel for a total transformation. Okay, so that little spark of an idea leads us right into the second part of this story. This is where it's not just about changing how you teach, but completely reimagining how you connect with people, period. This is the belief that changes absolutely everything. Your role suddenly shifts from just, delivering information to something so much bigger. You're not just a teacher, you're sparking curiosity, building confidence. You're realizing that every little interaction is helping to write a student's future story. So how do you take that big idea and make it real? Well, with a practical framework called the 3R mindset. First up, you reflect. You take that doubt and you turn it into a tool by getting really honest about what's not working. Second, you reinvent. This means being brave enough to toss out the old playbook and try something new, something that brings energy back. And finally, you reach. You go beyond just the curriculum to build real trust, because that's a foundation for any kind of learning that actually sticks. And what's fueling that 3R mindset? It's something called the growth circle. You can think of these as the daily habits that make it all work. It starts with curiosity, because you have to stay a student yourself. Then connection, to really see the person, not just the student. And of course, creativity, to turn even the driest topic into some kind of adventure. Okay, so the philosophy is great, the mindset is there, but what does this actually look like when the bell rings and class starts? Let's get into how this whole new approach turns into real, actual results. And wow, just look at this. This chart says it all. By taking what was historically a pretty boring topic and turning it into this interactive experience, student engagement just went through the roof. We are talking a jump from 40% all the way up to 95% attendance. Students weren't just showing up, they were getting there early and staying late to talk about it. This isn't just a small tweak, folks. This is a revolution in a classroom. So how in the world did that happen? Well, by borrowing a really cool process from the tech world called design thinking and applying it to lesson planning, it all starts with empathy. Instead of blaming the students for being bored, the teacher actually asked why they were so disconnected. From there, you define the real problem. You ideate all kinds of creative solutions. You prototype a brand new kind of lesson, and then, this is key, you test and iterate based on what the students are telling you. You stop teaching at them and start designing with them. Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest shifts. Look at this, the old question, did you understand? It's a yes or no question. It just checks a box. But the new approach, how did you feel learning this? That opens up a whole conversation. It makes learning personal, it makes it emotional, and that's what makes it stick. It turns a classroom into a story you share together. And look, none of this just happens overnight. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. The real backbone of this whole transformation is a serious commitment to being a student again. That means you're mastering new tools, you're learning about AI, you're going to workshops, you're reading the latest research. The growth has to be continuous. All right, let's zoom out for a second. Because when a teacher changes their whole approach like this, the impact doesn't just stop at the classroom door. No way. It creates this amazing ripple effect, connecting what you do every day to a much, much bigger sense of purpose. So, at the end of this whole journey, what does this new kind of educator look like? Well, they're defined by these 5 pillars. And they're not separate things, they're all connected. You've got to be a lifelong learner to be a real innovator. You need to be an empathetic mentor to be a great collaborator. And when you put it all together, that's when you become a true contributor to society. And this is where it all really hits home. The source tells this story about a student who was quiet, struggling, really falling behind. But with a lot of patient mentoring and trust, that student completely turned things around. Then, years later, a message comes through that just says, "You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself." That is the real reward right there.
And that brings us to the ultimate realization. This whole journey transforms teaching from a job you do 9 to 5 into a purpose that you live. When every single lesson is designed to create a positive ripple in someone's future, a future you might not even get to see, it stops being just a profession. It becomes who you are.
So, what's next? Well, the vision for the future is pretty bold. It starts today, with classrooms basically becoming labs where teachers are the lead learners. By 2027, the goal is for innovation to be a part of every single lesson, which leads us to 2030, a future where every teacher is an innovator and every classroom is a space for creating positive change. And so, we end by turning that question back to all of us. It doesn't matter if your classroom is an actual classroom, a boardroom, or your living room with your kids. These ideas, empathy, reinvention, purpose, they apply everywhere. So, the real question is, what story will you help shape